Welcome to UVTV, motherfucker. I'm here to kick spiritual ass and dudes for my people. On God. Neon nigga for featherman, yeah. And today I'm gonna be talking about the art of being sexually provocative, aka creating porn within the mind before it becomes a flesh. Now, I know motherfuckers gonna be looking at the title and shit like that, and they're gonna be sitting there like, why does motherfucker talking about porn? Because of this, then the third. When in actuality, when it comes to sex is just the combining of two different energies to create another different energy. And that's based upon the masculine and the feminine, or men and women. How y'all see that in reality for the most part. It's just y'all get lost into the male and female version of what that is. You know what I'm saying? Like the men and women, like the descendant version of what that is from us being in the flesh. So you just thinking, oh, we have this reproductive organ, aka a dick and balls, and a woman having a twat or a pussy or a coochie and stuff like that, and then y'all would just get lost into that shape and form of what it looks like to have sex when you have sex within the mind first. So it's based upon something having sentience, and it's two polar opposite energies create a whole different energy. So that's like masculine type of thoughts. Masculine type of thoughts is like you building or like you producing something or you creating something for the most part. So that's the main reason that men be sitting there, they be sitting there all like, oh yeah, I'm trying to build something and stuff like that. I'm trying to make it make sense, right? So just in general, right, a masculine type of thought would be more catered toward logic and rationality and articulating and communication, left brain type of thinking. Um, like something dealing with ideas and thoughts without including the emotion and feeling within it. But just in general, right, it's just a transition. So you need that yin and yang. You need thoughts, ideas, and feelings and emotions. You need that rational and logical type of side, and you need that creative, imaginative, emotional intelligence side, and that'll be more feminine. So when you're more in that feminine state of being, right, is the attraction energy, and then the men energy will be like the attentive or the attention type of energy, right? So it's based upon the polarity of attention and attraction. So women have a womb. So from it being a womb, it's like a container. So it's taking things in. And then the men, right, they like to give this energy out. And then the women like to be in that motherly type of energy. They like to nurture and care for whatever the masculine energy is based upon the direction, the same way how men get an erection. But you know what I'm saying? Whatever direction we going down. So it's the men being like the order or the patriarch, and then the woman being like the chaos or the matriarch, just in general. Like the motherland, and then the men is gonna be like the father sky. So the atmosphere that we in, and then the motherland based upon the atmosphere that we in, the ecosystem, just in general. You get it? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to make it simple. I'm trying to make it make sense. So, just in general, right? You have sex and you are sentient within the mind first. You know what I'm saying? So that's like you having an idea about something, and then you actually start to play out that idea in actuality based upon your passions and motivations. So you trying to make your imagination or your mind matter based upon the space that you're in, what you're trying to create. So based upon you being passionate and you trying to be creative or create that idea just in general, right? Once you start creating it and you're trying to make it something that you can make fleshly, so you have to take something from the external world and you try to receive something out of it. That's like you having sex within the mind. You're going to take your thoughts and ideas, masculine energy, and you're going to turn it into a certain emotion and feeling, and it's going to produce a whole new energy. It's going to be you trying to plant that seed until it starts to grow into that esoteric garden of Eden, or so to speak, just in general, right? So you have sex within the mind first. It's just taking two different reproductive organs, right, based upon you being an organism, and you're making a body, you're making a system. So is you taking something as in manifesting, and you're trying to materialize it. You're manifesting. Manifesting is just festering men and women, masculine and feminine energies, thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, right? And then you're actually trying to actualize that in reality to you see it in the flesh, playing out in real time and stuff like that. So it's like you perform these acts or you having sex within the mind. So it's similar to how you be looking at that shit when you be watching pornography and porn stars and stuff like that. So overall, different strands of attention and attraction creates new possibilities, right? So from you planting those seeds, and attention and attraction creates these new type of possibilities, right? Is you being more centered in the mind. Now you can't do that without these new ideas being born. So from it being born, it's like a child being born, just in general. So it's based upon the space that you in. So it's like the substance, the substance in the essence. So it's like an esoteric scent, a particular characteristic based upon the type of character you're trying to play out and stuff like that. But these are just emanations. You like to emanate thoughts and ideas because you know what I'm saying? Like we're like spirits in a body. So based upon our spirits being in a body, that's just the space that we in. The things we're creating for ourselves, the things we're observing based upon our experiences and what we're learning from our experiences. And then our individual space, our individual spirit is our soul. And then we like to actualize ourselves into different spaces, and that's just spirituality. You know what I'm saying? Believing in something that's beyond just yourself, and then based upon you putting your own subjective point of view within something that's beyond just yourself, you're able to carry out your essence and your substance, your subconscious standing based upon what you're trying to produce and create for yourself and what you observe, what you went through. You know what I'm saying? What's your esoteric testimony in a sense, right? And then you going through those different experiences, right? Is you going through a whole bunch of different spiritual tests for the most part. You testing out the capabilities and the abilities of what you're able to do based upon what you created for yourself, to make it like mad simple. So is you understanding different strands of attention span, and attention span just creates that you know what I'm saying, a broader awareness. And based upon that broader awareness, you're going to attract new energies. And based upon what you attracting and you gain traction on, for the most part, you start to soak into it. So it's, you know what I'm saying? It's like you going in a container. It's like you going in a womb based upon the possibility of you actually actualizing whatever thing you're observing and what you're trying to create for yourself, just in general, right? So a porn star is just an actor or actress, men or women, right, who performs sexual acts in pornographic films, videos, and live performances. So pornography is a sexual act. So the same way how I just said, you having sex within the mind first, right? You're performing that reproductivity, that sexual activity. You're making these things more lively. You're trying to keep these thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions alive. That's what make it so you have that memory. That's why you have that sense. That's why you have that membrane. That's why you have that awareness, right? And you're being proactive and keep making those different emotions, because emotions are just specific feelings, because you can feel some way about something but you don't know the specific desire, you don't know the specific passion, you don't know the specific motivation to why you feel that way, just in general. That's why when people be going through overwhelming amount of feelings, right, they don't, you know what I'm saying, they be all over the place because they can't describe what they going through. It's just a whole bunch of different things going on at once. And then once you understand that specific feeling, that's when it starts to become an emotion. And then emotion is just essential movement. Well, I like to call it that, emotion, eternal or essential movement. So we like to turn our imagination into motion pictures. And the same way how you look at pornography and stuff like that, it's sexual acts through motion pictures, and it's captured live. So you're being lively in real time. You're trying to make your imagination a motion picture. Whatever imagination or vision or dream or aspiration or goal, or you know what I'm saying, whatever that you're trying to accomplish and stuff like that, you're trying to make an emotion picture. Oh, I'm trying to live my life like a movie or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever thing that I'm programming my mind to be into based upon what I'm paying attention to, I'm trying to make it a reality. So I'm trying to make my life be like a movie, be a motion picture. Oh, I'm living the reality of what my dreams are, just in general. And that's what just in general, like that's everything that everyone be trying to do, just in their own particular substance, uh, their own particular way and stuff like that, right? So it's the same way how y'all be watching porn and pornography and stuff like that. They're doing that. They're just doing the sexual act out in the open for the sake of, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the same. I'm trying to make an analogy of like when you watch that, that's like that being performed in the fleshly fluid version of what that is. But they get that orgasm, right? They get that sexual arousement from doing that, just in general. The same way how when you accomplish something based upon some type of passion or motivation that you really like to do, that you feel good about, you feel that esoteric orgasmic feeling. Oh, it makes you feel that bliss. It makes you feel like you're in heaven. Oh, it makes you feel good that you did that thing because you expanded something, the awareness, and you was able to accomplish whatever goal based upon the experiences you went through to even get to point A to B to C to the promised land, just in general, right? So you created that internal heaven, the thing that makes you feel good, and you actually actualize that externally in the external world and shit like that. So the same way how porn stars create or fit a sexual fantasy in a softcore or a hardcore content type of way, right? Regardless if it's softcore or hardcore, the hardcore version is like super X-rated, super explicit and stuff like that. And the softcore is like, oh, okay, you probably gonna see a little nip slip or whatever and shit like that. Oh yeah, you gonna see them kissing real intensely and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like some HBO Max type of shit. But if it's softcore, it's more lightly. It's still intense, but it's in a way to where it's all like, oh, it's not like so intense where it's like, oh, you holding on to certain shit. You know what I'm saying? It's not as, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not as like X-rated. It's not as explicit and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like some PG-13 type of shit. Like it's implied, but it's not something super hardcore and stuff like that. Like yeah, they're being sexually provocative and stuff like that, but it's not as, yeah. And if it's something that's more heavy or hardcore, right? It's intense and you can really hold on into that shit. Like, oh damn, like them niggas was really going at that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's the same way how you look at attention and attraction. Because I'm going back to the beginning of the video in the title. So you're creating porn within the mind before it becomes the flesh. So it's based upon what you're paying attention to, which is just awareness, and how you can attract that energy. How can you achieve or attract that energy towards you, just in general. So it's like the sun and the moon, the actions and the reactions. So that's basically what you're doing when it comes to your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions and your imagination and trying to turn your dreams or whatever sexual fantasy, not actual sexual fantasy, like, oh, like a sexual fantasy of you get super aroused from getting tied up in some rope buddy kink type shit or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't saying it like that. I mean, like sexual fantasy as in like, oh, what's the thing that you're trying to produce that makes you feel good and you actually trying to perform that act based upon those thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions. And it could be in a softcore type of way, something that people can take lightly, or it's something based upon that's hardcore and stuff like that. It's something more based upon the flesh or something more catered to the external world in a someone shipping form. So that's kind of like worldly desires or something that's going to be based upon like food for thought. Like lightly desires or some shit like that. But food for thought for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Something that helps your mind or something that helps your spirit for the most part. I'm not even trying to say it in a way like it's bad. I'm just showing the dichotomies based upon the allegory I made before with the softcore and the hardcore explicit content and shit like that. So, right, like, because I know in general, right, a lot of people look at porn like, oh, it's like adult content, right? But you have to understand the dichotomies. So someone who isn't a part of that, like a motherfucker who create OnlyFans or some shit like that, or they're like a content creator, or they like to play around with those type of things, and they do that shit the minute they turn 18 and all that type of shit, right? You start understanding the dichotomies of, oh, this is some grown shit, some adult content, and I'm trying to help you stay more pure and innocent and stuff like that. But it's the same thing when it comes to, you know what I'm saying? Like the mind, when you be coming up with these ideas. This is where that whole fountain of youth and I'm trying to be forever young concept come from. But it's kind of like you trying to ignore life, just in general, because the whole thing itself is like a transition. That's what leads to people thinking in that type of mind state of fearing death and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Of things getting old, of things getting expired and stuff like that. They trying to stay forever young and preserve that type of energy, right? Even though there is methods to preserve your youthfulness and aging backwards and all that type of shit, but that's a different video. But just in general, right? Anything that's purified or innocent is you preserving the youthfulness and you preserving these ideas being born and coming to existence. And then anything that's old or adult content or mature is like you going through the fall time. So something that's pure and innocent, that's like the springtime. That's created something. That's something being birthed and born and it coming into existence. And then it actually becomes born and becomes more lively, and then it starts to become old. So look at that as like the fall time and shit like that. So spring, summer, fall, winter. So that transition. So if something is more adult, it's more old and it's more mature. But from it being more mature, that's like you going through the fall and autumn time. So that's during that time when the leaves start to fall off the trees and shit like that and start to deteriorate, and you're starting to go through the twilight zone. So even day, even night, right? So that's like that Libra time or the sunset time. So from going through the twilight zone, it's like you going through that death, that change, that transformation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you going through that fall time, esoterically. So from Libra to Sagittarius. And we see that when it comes to the sun cycle and the sun transitions. That's what they call that the twilight zone. And then whenever there's a new birth or a new sun or some shit like that, they call it daybreak or dawn. And then yeah, like anything that's adult content is it going through the dusk zone or the Twilight Zone or some shit like that. So you could look at that transition is like the same way how, oh, we're in a human body, we ain't gonna live forever. Eventually, this gonna start to deteriorate and start to get old, and it can't preserve itself when it comes to its organs for a long period of time, right? And motherfuckers gotta start taking their vitamins at a certain time. The minute they start hitting 40 years old and they start getting arthritis in their kneecaps and all that type of shit, their nerves start getting bad and shit. So based upon these thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, we're like preserving these organs, right? We're trying to keep it pure. We're trying to keep it lively. We're trying to keep it innocent and stuff like that. So it's kind of like always staying in tune with your inner child. And the more you get more lost into the flesh in the external world, you start to lose your capabilities and abilities and awarenesses of how you even gained it in the first place, to how your ass even got born into existence, just in general, by being creative, aka being born and being in existence and learning how to become like an entity, and you being lively. So based upon your thoughts, ideas, feelings, and emotions, and let's say you have a lot of thoughts and ideas and stuff like that, right? You actively be using your imagination. You're like a creative and stuff like that. You're preserving these energies, and that's going to give you that adrenaline and that blood flow to make it so you can preserve your organs, because you're like a walking organism, like dead ass. Like you're literally a walking organism. So you're preserving your organs. You're keeping good blood flow just in general by always doing something that makes you feel more experienced in something. You're doing something in the dynamic of trying to go through different experiences, trying to create other ways of how to look at things, right? You're trying to expand your memory, expand your awareness just in general. So the more you preserve your youthfulness, it's going to make you be more purified. It's going to make you look more grand or angelic or innocent and stuff like that. That's why people be using those terminology like, oh, she was like an angel in my life who just swooped down and saved me because of this and a third. Oh, they're more innocent and stuff like that. So that's just, that, in general, that just means being more grand. If you're like an angel or you're being angelic, that means you're looking at something from a higher angle. You're not getting lost into the flesh or the external world. You get what I'm saying? You're not getting lost into the twilight zone. You ain't getting lost into the darkness. You ain't getting lost into the illusion. I'm not trying to say it like, oh, light is good and then darkness is bad because of this and a third. The whole thing itself is a transition. You know what I'm saying? Darkness is just the accumulation of light. It's just going through the transition of it being played out, and you start to get blinded by the light, and then you have to make some new light so you can purify and you can see through that darkness again and stuff like that. So it's always going to be a yin and yang dichotomy with all these things. So I'm basically trying to say too much light can blind you, and then you being too blind, you ain't never going to be able to find the light. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not no dichotomy of like, oh yeah, goodness and light is always going to triumph against darkness because of this and the third. No, the whole thing is a whole fucking dichotomy. Just in general, you have to learn how to use the equilibrium in the balance scale between both. You know what I'm saying? You're always going to create the light, and then that light is going to become your own hell or become the darkness or some shit like that. Like you always have to create a heaven out of a hell, and then you're always gonna create a hell out of a heaven. You know what I'm saying? Like that it's the epitome of not everything is always gonna go your way. If I want to make that like extremely simple, not everything is gonna always go your way, but you always need to know how to pivot when it doesn't go your way, and understand sometimes it is gonna go your way and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? You got the magic stick that day. You know what I'm saying? You had the magic stick that day. Oh God. But just in general, right, we're going through those transitions. So we get born, birth, life, death, and resurrection, rebirth, or the way I like to call it. So like spring, summer, fall, winter, just in general. So during the spring, you're being born. I'm not trying to say it in a way of like, oh, you born in the spring, that means you're able to be more born than somebody else because it is in a third. I'm trying to use those as examples, like metaphors of like, oh, this is something we're doing naturally. You know what I'm saying? We're naturally going through these different transitions already. So it's like being born and then you being lively, right? You live your life and your lifestyle, and then you're going to end up going through a death or a transformation, even though all these are different forms of change and transformation, right? It's just people get fixated because we're in the flesh right now. We're in the death portion. You know what I'm saying? If you want to look at it from like the whole wide scope of the totem pole, just in general. Oh, we're in the flesh right now. We're in the physical. We're in the body, right? And then we make external tools and technology from the body, the external world. So in the in the heavens, or the spirit world, the astral realm or whatever, right? That the overall space, right? That would be like the spirit world or the birth world. And then the lively world, the life world will kind of be like the metaphysics, the mentality. We're creating a shape and form into it, because your spirit is no shape and form. But you like to emanate, you like to create a shape and form, you like to experience, right? So that would be like the the fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like different terminology to make it make sense, right? So the life world will be like the fourth, fifth, sixth dimension, or like summertime transition, to make it simple, and then the fall autumn time, or the physical, is us becoming the body. So the first body was the metaphysics. It was the mind. It was the mentality behind something, and then we turn that mentality, that character, into different characteristics and different qualities until we turn that into the second body, which is just the flesh. You know what I'm saying? The flesh, the material, the fluid, the external world get created from the flesh. The tools and technology of how we make society in the external world, civilization, right? And we utilize these things to rebirth, just in general. So the external world will kind of be like the winter time and stuff like that. So like birth, life, death, rebirth, spirit, mind, body, external world created from the body. You know what I'm saying? So the external tools and technology that we make from the body, it helps us to preserve the spirit, or the essence, or the substance of what we was, based upon what we created and observe, and we try to make that bigger. I'm not trying to say that in a way of, oh, get lost into the external world and that's the only way you could preserve your spirit. No, I'm just saying those are just things we utilize to make people remember us after we're dead. You know what I'm saying? Like we did things using things from the external world for what we created for ourselves, so we can preserve those things. That's why motherfuckers make funerals and graveyards and totems and like memorials and stuff like that, to remember people after they're dead. We're using these physical things like the grave, and making a ceremony out of it, and then all their loved ones bringing energy into how they died and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And remembering how they was during their life and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole ceremony itself. Oh, we created something in the external world to help us preserve the spirit of what they was. Oh, what space they was in. What was their individuality? What was the qualities of them that made them one of a kind and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? So, just in general, right? We create sex and we create porn within the mind first before it becomes a flesh, right? So we're kind of like walking porn stars. We're like walking sex stars. A star is just a celestial or heavenly body appearing as a luminous point. Appearing as a luminous point. And from us being the walking star, the walking representation of what a celestial body is, which is just a heavenly body just represents like the heavens. The heavens represent the abode of God, or the sky and the atmosphere and stuff like that. God is just all possibilities. So we're just a walking possibility of God creating us, and we made it possible through ourselves, so we able to do things the way God did it. Just in general, it's not to say, oh, you are a God, like you are a deity, or some shit like that, because people like to look at God like a deity when God ain't a deity. God is just all possibilities. It's not to say that all possibilities can only go through you. It's just saying you can utilize all possibilities to help yourself. So is you putting yourself in God position. So from you being sentient, you being alive right now, you already did that thing already. From you having your own mind. You have your own mind, right? You have your own subjectivity, right? So you did something the way God did it. You did it in a way of all possibilities. You did something to help yourself. So you already was sentient or in existence. You already had your own spirit. Your own individual spirit is just your soul. You already got your own swag, your own soul, your own characteristics, your own way of observing, your own way of looking at things, your own experiences and stuff like that. So you just added on things to your spirit, and you shouldn't be bogged down by things of the flesh or the external world. The only thing you should be doing is trying to utilize life like your bitch to help you preserve your spirit, preserve your purity, preserve your youthfulness and stuff like that, and go through the transitions. And you can only do that by actually going through things in life and shit like that, by going through things in the physical and the external world. But it's gonna only help you preserve that youthfulness, not the other way around. Not you get old get fucking like old and burnt out by getting lost into the flesh, into the external world. And then you think, oh, because I have all these materialistic things and I'm getting lost into hedonism and I got all this goddamn millionaire money and all this type of shit, oh, I'm doing something because of this, that, and the third. No, it's how you're utilizing it. And then you can tell the difference between a motherfucker who actually know how to utilize their money in a good way and invest it into good things compared to a motherfucker to where, okay, yeah, you got built and put into that position, but you ain't gonna utilize it for something substantial. You know what I'm saying? You ain't gonna utilize it for something that's gonna be everlasting. You're only gonna use it for a monetary gain type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't gonna use it for something that's gonna help your kids, and it's gonna help your legacy, so you can create something for yourself to have some legs to stand on. You're only gonna use it for something based upon a monetary gain, and or to end up taking advantage of another motherfucker because of this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? Like you get more lost into the flesh, you get more lost into the external world, and you start to wane away on your own capabilities and creative abilities and talent and stuff like that. You start getting comfortable in a certain position because you have that money. You get what I'm saying? You get lost into the limelight. You get lost into the luxury. You get lost into the leisure and shit like that. You got too fucking comfortable. And then the minute you get too comfortable, you start losing hustle mentality and you lost the shit that even made it so you was able to get that shit in the first place. You end up losing your own talent and creativity and shit like that because, yeah, like all that shit, bro. Like all that shit. It go deep as fuck. But from us being walking stars and walking celestial bodies and heavenly bodies and stuff like that, right? It being from a luminous point is something that emits, radiates, and it's kind of like when Christians, they be all like, oh, Jesus is like the light of the world and stuff like that. No, you have to be that and stuff like that. But it's not to say, oh, motherfuckers need to get lost into your light. Look at light like information. Motherfuckers can't get lost into your light, your emanations, your creativity and stuff like that. Because eventually a motherfucker is going to get blinded from only looking at it in your perspective and stuff like that. So that's like someone who's super narcissistic or super egotistical and stuff like that. They end up flying too close to the sun. They end up burning up their own goddamn selves and end up crashing the fuck out. And that's how that's how they ass end up going to hell and all that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying? You think your shit can't stink. You know what I'm saying? Like, you end up flying your ass way too close to the sun, and then life end up humbling your ass. And then look, I fucking hate the word humble, but life is gonna end up humbling your ass to show you ain't that. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna show whatever desire that you got, whatever you thought you was, nigga, you ain't that, because you really ain't. Because your spirit is no shape and form. It's just you like to emanate these things and you're just experiencing it in the flesh. But it's saying stop getting lost into a certain pocket of time of how something is supposed to look like and how something is supposed to be and shit like that. You get lost into a light spectrum and stuff like that. You get lost into a color spectrum, a certain shade of how you looking at something. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's dynamic. It's always gonna fucking change. You always, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always gonna go through a different transition and stuff like that. Life itself is about that. So the minute you try to preserve it and you always trying to have that, you know what I'm saying? Like you, if you try to go against that, time and life itself gonna show you that you was wasting your goddamn time trying to preserve it that much and try to cling onto it like a fucking unhealthy ass mental crutch and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So just in general, from creating porn or sex within the mind before it becomes a flesh, you end up making yourself have a more heavenly state of being. And then the heavens is just the sky or the atmosphere, because it's just the abode of God. The abode of God, or not the abode of God, God is just all possibilities. So look at that like the atmosphere. So the atmosphere is just the sphere at most, the word at most. So the more the more you're able to do what God did and put yourself first and actually put yourself in that position, and you try to preserve that youthfulness and able to go through the transitions of planting those seeds, and they was able to grow and mature and stuff like that, right, and become more like a spiritual adult and things of that nature, right, the more you end up preserving your ability to be eternal or everlasting, and you able to hold on to your ability to be sentient and be a part of existence just in general. So look at that as you creating your own atmosphere, something that makes you feel blissful, something that makes you feel in a heavenly state of being internally, though, not using the external world as a mental crutch. I'm not trying to say you can't you know what I'm saying, gain these pleasures through the physical or the flesh in the external world, but don't just get lost into that shape and form. It has to be internal first. It's the same way how a motherfucker be like, you can't learn how to love somebody else or be good at relationships unless you learn how to have a good relationship and love yourself first. It's the same quality. So the more you're able to make your own atmosphere, your own world, your own way of creative talent or ability and stuff like that in your own subjective point of view and make it relative to the objective point of view, that's how you do it in the overall actuality. So it's like, yeah, the more you start to understand how to be more sexually provocative and creating porn within the mind before it becomes a flesh, just in general, right? The more you start to understand that you are already creating these things within the mind first. And like the minute you see a motherfucker who's like very alluring or sexually provocative and they know how to use the magic or their imagination, just in general, so they know how to gain attention and they know how to make people attract towards what they're paying attention to based upon their awareness, and they keep on going through that expansion and contraction, right? They're able to expand a mind or expand their awareness and contract into it, turn into a container and condense it, so you're able to, you know what I'm saying, you're able to soak into what you already done attracting and stuff like that. In general, that's someone who knows how to be the walking representation of whatever the light body is doing, and they're able to turn that into the flesh to make it look attractive in real time. You know what I'm saying? They know how to do that live. They know how to do it in reality in so much shape or form. So a motherfucker who's like really sexual and stuff like that, and they know how to turn that lust, because lust is just an offspring of love. The more they learn how to turn that lustful type of energy and turn it into actual love, passion, and appreciation and value behind something, and they're able to make that more stable and secure to make it something of what they want to offer to the world in some way, shape, or form. That's like a motherfucker who's very sentient in the mind. Oh, they're very creative. Oh, they're very imaginative and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of motherfuckers, hold on. And I'm not even trying to say this is bad, right? But this is why now, when it comes to a lot of OnlyFans motherfuckers or people who be doing porn and stuff like that, a lot of them in general, right? That's why that whole subjectivity got changed. Like, oh, they're like content creators. Yeah, because that's what they do. In general, like they make a lot of content. They do content creation. Oh, they fuck a lot of different people and stuff like that, right? But y'all be getting lost into the sexually provocative version of how it look like in the physical, but in the mind, they already doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they actually learn how to utilize their mind for other things beyond just them doing porn, I'm not even trying to say like them doing porn is bad, but it's like if they was able to utilize that for other things, like a good example is like, bro, what's her name? Like Violet Myers and stuff like that. Like how she started to show her taste into underground music, like Osama Son and Netspan and like Che and stuff like that. And she started streaming. She started talking about like other things, like oh, they're like them playing video games, like them being a gamer girl, like them talking about other things beyond just them doing porn. It started to show up like, oh, they actually have like a broad imagination about a lot of different shit. And the way they get that out is like the porn and them doing that sexual act. But anybody who acts like that in general, right? They're actually like really creative. Like they're actually like really imaginative and stuff like that. They actually be aware of like a lot of different shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, because that's like them planting seeds and stuff like that. So they plant a lot of seeds in a lot of different areas. If they learn how to condense it, or they learn how to make it look more attractive, or they learn how to like control it and actually have some type of direction behind it and have more essence and substance, subconscious standing behind it, and he start to understand a subconscious mind and shit like that, nigga, they'll be even bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like, they'll actually create their own world beyond just the porn shit. It's just the porn shit is part of their world and stuff like that. Because just in general, we're all walking emanations of what the fuck that look like. You know what I'm saying? Like, porn stars are just sex stars, but sex stars is something we already doing just in general. We're basically making sex within the mind, and then we like to externalize that after the fact. It's just based upon society and shit like that. They make it look like a stigma, or they make it look a certain way, especially in other countries and stuff like that. They make it look a certain way if you do that. But if honestly, like honest to God, in reality, they actually showing how they actually is beyond something than just like the flesh. It's just once they get stuck into the hedonistic desire of that, look at that as a motherfucker who fuck a lot of different people and stuff like that all the time and stuff like that, and then you make your whole life just about porn. It's like they end up taking for granted like their actual talents, gifts, and abilities beyond just that ability of fucking real good and stuff like that. And they know how to fucking ride dick real good and all that type of shit. But like, yeah,